What's up, guys? Raymaster Flex here, and ladies and gentlemen, today is December 28th, and we are less than about 3 days left in the year of 2016, and I couldn't help make a video relating to the WWE. Now, for whatever reason, which I really don't know why, SmackDown and Raw ended with no Slammy. I mean, this is probably the first year that there was no Slammy Awards, and I was just thinking about that before I made this video, uploading right now, that they actually did not have a Slammy Awards this year, which is weird. I mean, I know the brand extension started in July, but still, even before, even when the brand was extended, they always had a Slammy Awards, so I don't really get why they didn't have one this year, but because I would love to see what the heck they depict as a match of the year, but because they don't have one, I thought that didn't have one this year. I thought it would be nice to put my top 15, which is a step up from earlier this year and last year. 2016 is pretty much reaching its close, and there was a lot of matches that I believe and felt this year had match of the year candidate material. And normally I do 10 videos, but this time I'm doing 15. And so I had to make a list here. And don't worry, because there are some honorable mentions that will be mentioned at the end of this video, at the very end and the next part or whatever, because there are some matches that they had the potential to be a match of the year, but it was the ending that killed it. So these matches right here are the top 15 matches that I believe were match of the year material of this year. And so without further ado, let's begin with number 15. At number 15, we got Dolph Ziggler versus Kevin Owens for the Intercontinental title at Fastlane. Now, for me, this was one heck of a match. I mean, coming from a pay-per-view itself that wasn't really that good of a show, this was really a great way to kick off the show or whatever. Kevin Owens versus Dolph Ziggler for the IC title. I thought that this was a really incredible match between the two. I mean, and I'm just going to say right now that you're going to probably hear Kevin Owens and AJ Styles' names several times in this list, because this has really been the year of AJ Styles. And, Kevin Owens himself, he's stepped up and he's had a heck of a lot of great matches. But don't be surprised if you hear AJ Styles and Kevin Owens' names several times on this list. But at number 15, I'm going to go with Kevin Owens versus Dolph Ziggler at Fastlane. I think that this was one heck of a match. This was just an absolutely amazing match for the IC title. I don't think many people really give this match that much credit. There are a lot of matches this year that are overrated. There are some matches that are underrated. I think this match is a little bit underrated, because every time I look at videos of people who put their top 10s or top 5 best matches of this year, you will never see this match on that list. And there are some matches that you will hear about a ton of times that I even will mention on my list. But, I thought it'd be unique to kind of, aside from other people, and put some stuff of my own. And for this particular match with Dolph Ziggler versus Kevin Owens at Fastlane for the IC title, I thought that this was a heck of a match for the IC title. Kevin Owens picked up the victory, but Dolph Ziggler gave it a really good shot against Kevin Owens. I thought that this was one of the best matches on the Fastlane pay-per-view, besides the second, which was actually the best match in the night that I will get on later on in this list. At number 14, we've got Kevin Owens versus Tyler Breeze versus Dolph Ziggler versus Dean Ambrose on Raw for the IC title. Now, at this point, as you can see, I went backwards because at this rate, the champion was Dean Ambrose. He had obviously lost this match because at Fastlane, Kevin Owens was champion again. Dean Ambrose had to defend his title in what you would call a fatal four-way match. This was one heck of a match. Tyler Breeze is one of those guys that he's just been a little bit downhill pretty much ever since he debuted, really. I mean, the only really big thing they did for him was the thing he had with Dolph Ziggler. He beat him at Survivor Series last year, but I mean, ever since then, he has just not been able to get on the bandwagon. They put him with Fandango, but they barely got them even teaming up on SmackDown Live, and I just don't understand what exactly they're doing with his character at this point. But this was one heck of a match, this Fatal 4-Way match for the IC title. Kevin Owens picked up the victory to become a two-time IC champion. At the time Dean Ambrose was champion, he had to defend it in this Fatal 4-Way. And I thought that, this was a heck of a match on Monday Night Raw. It was a pretty good match. Everybody gave it their all this match, and like I said, Kevin Owens picked the victory. That is my number 14. That Fatal 4-Way match for the IC title. At number 13, we've got Enzo Amore and Big Cass versus The Rearrival for the NXT Tag Team Championships at Roadblock. Now, the Roadblock that I'm talking about is the first Roadblock, the actual live event Roadblock. Roadblock started off as a live event. It was not a pay-per-view until this month. It was originally just simply a live event that had happened. And I think that this match was one heck of a match. Actually, one of the best matches I've seen of Enzo Amore and Big Cass. This was before they even came on the main roster. And what a great way to have them come to the main roster. Right before they come, they have a match against the rival for the NXT Tag Team Championships. And even though they lost the match, this was still a really good match for Enzo Amore and Big Cass as a tag team. This was actually one of the best matches of the night, in my opinion, for Roadblock. Because Roadblock, I mean, it was some decent matches. You had the Dean Ambrose versus Triple H match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. You had the Natalya. I think Natalya went against Charlotte for the Women's Championship. But this match outlasted them all. I think this was one of the best matches of that Roadblock. Because, like I said, Roadblock was not actually pay-per-view at first. It was just simply a live event. They broadcasted it as if it was a pay-per-view, but it was actually just a live event. And this is what I'm talking about. Right before WrestleMania, you had Enzo Amore and Big Cass versus the rival for the NXT Tag Team Championships. It was one heck of a match. I got to give it to both teams in this match. And like I said, this is really what had Enzo Amore and Big Cass prove that they belong on the main roster. And pretty soon, before we knew it, they were on the main roster. If I'm not mistaken, the night after WrestleMania, they were on the main roster, which was a pretty good show. So it was a great, great tag team match between the two. And I don't think many people look at this match as match of year material, but for me, I think it was one heck of a match. At number 12, you've got Cesaro versus Kevin Owens versus AJ Styles versus Chris Jericho, and the number one contender match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Now, why wouldn't I put this match in this list? Phenomenal, as AJ Styles puts it. This was one heck of a match. This was the night after WrestleMania to determine who would face Roman Reigns at the very next pay-per-view at Payback for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And what an amazing match this was. Coming off a loss that AJ Styles had just had against Chris Jericho at WrestleMania, this was a great way for him to make his comeback. He won this match, and, this was a great return by Cesaro, who had actually been injured in in the fall of last year, and he made his return tonight to WrestleMania. And nobody expected Antonio Cesaro to be the guy to replace Sami Zayn that Kevin Owens had injured before the match even took place. This was one heck of a match. You know, everybody did a one heck of a job in this match. AJ Styles proved his phenomenalness. You know, he proved that he's phenomenal. Chris Jericho, of course, is one of the best in WWE right now. Is what actually one of the reasons why it's keeping me watching Monday Night Raw. Roman Reigns. I mean, why am I saying Roman Reigns? Excuse me, not Roman Reigns. You know, Kevin Owens did everything he could. You know, you had Cesaro uppercutting everybody left and right. This was just a heck of a match to determine the #1 contender. And in the end, it was AJ Styles that won the match. One heck of a match. I absolutely enjoyed it. I think AJ Styles, this is just one of several great matches AJ Styles had this year, but it was a great way to have him get some momentum after he had just lost to Chris Jericho, which in many people's eyes, they didn't even feel like, they felt like he shouldn't even he shouldn't have even lost to Chris Jericho. Even me, myself, I don't really think it was necessary for them to give that win to Chris Jericho. I mean, it wasn't going to benefit Chris Jericho whether he won or lost. It was, you know, AJ Styles is the up-and-coming star, so it would have made a lot more sense to have AJ Styles win. But I guess because he had already beaten Chris Jericho at Fastlane, they wanted to like even the odds and have him win at WrestleMania, and so that's what they did. So I think this was a great way and a really good booking decision to have AJ Styles win the Fatal 4-Way, and then he would then go on to face Roman Reigns at Payback for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Great Fatal 4-Way match between all four of those guys. At number 11, we've got Chris Jericho versus AJ Styles. Oh, look at that again. At Fastlane, right before WrestleMania. Now, I'm not going to lie. This match did have a lot of botches. You know, I will say that this match had a lot of botches in this match. But above every other match that took place at Fastlane, besides what I said earlier between the Kevin Owens and Dolph Ziggler match, this was indeed, if not the match of the night. Not even the main event itself, which was Roman Reigns versus Dean Ambrose versus Brock Lesnar, could compare to this match. In my opinion, this match was an absolutely amazing match. Like I said, there was a lot of botches, so a lot of moves Chris Jericho would miss and a lot of moves AJ Styles would miss, or it would just clearly look sloppy when they would do it. Even the code breaker that Chris Jericho landed on AJ Styles looked kind of sloppy, and in the end, it was the Styles Crusher, I believe that's the name of the finisher, that caused Chris Jericho to tap out, only for them to shake hands for mutual respect, which led to the short-lived team of Y2J, or whatever that team was called, which I felt bad for the people that bought the actual merchandise and stuff, because, I mean, look what happened. They were short-lived. But incredible match. Definitely, in my opinion, match of the material. Like I said, there was a lot of botches in this match. I'm not going to lie. There was a lot of mishaps between Chris Jericho and AJ Styles. There were a lot of moves they sort of missed. Even a code breaker, put them on the walls of Jericho. I mean, there was just quite a few things that was a little bit off with this match. But in the end, AJ Styles picks up the victory. And I love it how, you know, Chris Jericho kicked out of the Styles Crash and AJ Styles kicked out of the Code Breaker. I love that. It was an absolutely incredible back and forth match. I honestly think that all the matches they had against each other was pretty good. I didn't really like how Chris Jericho beat AJ Styles at WrestleMania, the fact that he pushed the referee and hit him with the Code Breaker like that. But, you know, I mean, what's not to like? It's Chris Jericho. But like I said, one heck of a match between AJ Styles and Chris Jericho. At number 10, all right, we got Roman Reigns versus AJ Styles. Once again, AJ Styles name on his list at Extreme Rules. Now, okay, I know a lot of people are going to go and say, you know, Roman Reigns suck, Roman Reigns can't wrestle. But honestly, I mean, this match was a lot better than their match at Payback, and there's no denying that. It took two style crashes. First of all, at Payback, AJ Styles didn't even hit Roman Reigns with a style crash. But at Extreme Rules, he hit him with two of them. The first one was just regular. The second one was on the steel chair. And Roman Reigns kicked out of both of them. It was an absolutely and really aggressive type of match. You know, you had freaking AJ Styles going through a table. You know, you had Roman Reigns hitting with the you had AJ Styles hitting Roman Reigns with a phenomenal forearm. It was just a heck of a match. And even though there were interference from the Usos and from Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, it was still a heck of a match. I mean, hey, at least this match wasn't like Payback where they had to restart it twice. Where first he got counted out, then it was like no countouts, then he got disqualified. Roman Reigns got disqualified, then it was like no disqualifications. At least it wasn't like that. At least this was just an Extreme Rules match that was absolutely aggressive. And like I said, even though AJ Styles didn't win this match, this was still one heck of a match. And, you know, I got to give it to him. I mean, the spear came from midair pretty much almost the same way it did at Payback, but it said he didn't hit it midair. But, you know, like I said,
it was a pretty good match. And, you know, like I said, AJ Styles hit him with two Styles crashes. It wasn't like he hit him with one. Roman Reigns hit him with one spear, and that was it. But it was a midair spear, and even though the Usos and Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows got involved, I still think that it was a really good match, and in my opinion, you know, match of year material for this year. Absolutely incredible match that AJ Styles and Roman Reigns put on, you know. So that is, you know, so like I said, love or hate Roman Reigns, you gotta admit that was a really pretty good match by Roman Reigns. I mean, you're talking about a midair spear, he threw him through a table, you know. Now at Payback, you had AJ Styles hit Roman Reigns with a phenomenal forearm through the table, but I mean, this match was just way more aggressive and extreme. I mean, just way more aggressive, just put it that way. And like I said, at least this match, they didn't restart it two times like they did at Payback. So, at number 9, we got, and this is the first time that I've ever done this, and I think that this is well deserved. You know, I've never done this before, but a certain Divas match is made on this list. Sasha Banks versus Charlotte for the Women's Championship. And which match am I talking about? July 26th on Monday Night Raw for the women's title. Which marked the first night of Raw's brand split right after the draft. And what a match it was. I mean, you're talking about two divas who, you know, pretty much has been the centerpiece of attention this year. And out of every match they had against each other this year, because, I mean, before they start playing hot tomatoes with the Divas title, this was really well deserved at the time by Sasha Banks to win the title, in my opinion. I mean, because Charlotte had just had the title for way too long, and it was time for a new champion to arrive. I mean, we had already seen Nikki Bella torture the reign when she was champion, having her break AJ Lee's record. But Charlotte had been champion for so long, not as long as Nikki Bella, but she had been champion for so long. I was just waiting for someone to take it from her. And it's a daggone shame that even though Sasha Banks took it from her, that the very next pay-per-view at SummerSlam, she would lose the title, which would then have her win it back and then lose it again and then win it back and then lose it again. I mean, it just started to become ridiculous what they were doing with the Divas division. At this point, I'm glad that they've sort of moved away from that feud, but because there are other divas that deserve to be in the main event picture other than just them two. But I mean, what a match by the two. You know, I take nothing away from Charlotte. There are some people that are Charlotte fans. There are some people that are against Charlotte. There are some people that are Sasha Banks fans. There are some people that are against Sasha. But you gotta admit that with all that there was put into this match, where literally Sasha Banks did a dive that she almost could have injured herself on Charlotte, and Charlotte did a moonsault from the top rope to the floor on Sasha Banks. And right when she said, "You'll never beat me," that you'll never beat me, Sasha Banks put her in a bank statement and then became the Divas Women's Champion. I didn't think she could do it when I saw it. I don't think anybody's seen that coming when it happened. It was so unexpected. It was on Monday Night Raw. And quite frankly, it was probably the only Monday Night Raw in recent months, because Monday Night Raw has just, in my opinion, really been going down the journey, that actually really meant something. Just simply because of how they had that show that night. So Sasha Banks versus Charlotte for the Women's Championship, without question, this deserves to be on this list. You may not agree, with me putting this, but like I said, just my opinion, everything. This is an excellent match between the two. Never would have thought I would put a Divas match as a match of year material, but I think this deserves it. I mean, they had way more matches than this, but this particular one was my favorite one that I'd seen. At number 8, we have Samoan Joe versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the NXT Championship at NXT TakeOver in Brooklyn 2. Now, I know that this match gets a lot of talk, and that is a little bit overrated. Not a lot of people, talk about this match and say how great it was and whatever. But, I think this was a very special moment, especially for Shinsuke Nakamura. Believe it or not, NXT, like I said, you're going to hear it a couple of times in this list, because NXT is really, really stuck to this game. I mean, it's been really good ever since Triple H had control of it, but I just had to put this match in here for NXT TakeOver in Brooklyn. Like I said, a lot of people bash and be like, they say that Shinsuke Nakamura, they may not like him. They may have something. They may have different thoughts about him. But like I said, this was one heck of a match for the NXT Championship. Samoan Joe, he would lose the NXT Championship to Shinsuke Nakamura. Shinsuke Nakamura would become the new NXT Champion. And I think this was just an incredible match. Absolutely incredible. People may not like the style that Shinsuke Nakamura wrestles, but this was a really good match. And like I said, and one of the biggest parts I like about this match is the crowd. Like, the crowd was just going nuts. They were singing Shinsuke Nakamura's theme song. I mean, it was just absolutely amazing. You had them singing his theme song during the match. I mean, just incredible. I love NXT crowds. They're interactive. They're into the matches. And this was one incredible match between Samoan Joe and Shinsuke Nakamura. The first match they ever had against each other at that. What a great match. Shinsuke Nakamura won the NXT title from Samoan Joe, and well deserved. And Samoan Joe did a heck of a job in this match as well. At number 7, Dolph Ziggler versus The Miz for the IC title. Oh my God. You want to talk about career versus title? This was telling the story of a man who had a huge downfall in his career, who had having a lot of ups and downs, that had been a cheerleader, that had then been a singles competitor, that had then been lost in the shuffle for the last couple of years, especially really since about 2014 or so. That was like the last year he was really relevant. Dolph Ziggler going against The Miz for the IC title at No Mercy. This was one heck of a feud. This was probably, in my opinion, one of my favorite feuds of the year. One thing I like about this match was that the story that it told, the way that The Miz just mocked and made Dolph Ziggler's career as a mockery and just made fun of it. I mean, I just love how they told the story and how all this paid off to Dolph Ziggler winning the match and proving that he still had some stuff left in the tank, proving that he deserves to be in the WWE. Now, it was pretty obvious that that Dolph Ziggler was not gonna lose this match and that his career would not be over. But we've seen the way that they've been treating Dolph Ziggler and the way he's been utilized. So it was just very, very well told story and well earned victory. But the only sad part is it was short lived, because as we all know, right before Survivor Series, he lost the title, which was very disappointing because we all wanted to see Dolph Ziggler versus Sami Zayn. Now The Miz versus Sami Zayn was okay, but Dolph Ziggler versus Sami Zayn, in many people's eyes, would have stole the show. So it was just pretty disappointing that that did not take place. But what a heck of a match, and what a heck of a story it took, that it told between The Miz versus Dolph Ziggler for the IC title. I truly believe that is match of the year material. Definitely. At number 6, we've got Antonio Cesaro versus The Miz. You see The Miz name again. Versus Kevin Owens. Versus... oh yeah, well that's it. Versus Sami Zayn. In a fatal 4-way match at Payback for the IC title. Now, we just talked about how The Miz made a mockery of Dolph Ziggler's career. Also, I forgot to mention how he was also making fun of Daniel Bryan because he used a lot of Daniel Bryan tactics. Well, before that, at Payback, we had this fatal 4-way match for the IC title. And this was an awesome, awesome match. It told the story between the rivalry, long-term rivalry between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. They were going at it. They actually cost each other this match. What a heck of a match this was. I mean, everybody in this match really just had an amazing, amazing thing. I mean, there were times that I literally thought The Miz was going to lose his title. You had freaking Cesaro uppercutting everybody, putting everybody in the uppercut train, doing the Cesaro swing, putting them in a submission. You had Sami Zayn, Halua kick. You had Kevin Owens putting a cannonball on everybody. You had Cesaro even putting, I think he at one point put him on the power, like, did a power bomb or something when they were on the top rope. I mean, it was just an incredible match. Absolutely incredible. And of course, The Miz slid his way into pinning to Antonio Cesaro in the end to retain his IC title. But what an incredible match that was. You know, this match was absolutely amazing. I would have loved to have seen Cesaro win the title, but I mean, the heel Miz has just been off the charts this year. I mean, The Miz has really stepped up his game, and he's proven that he deserves to be in the talks of possible main event pictures, that he just deserves to be at the role that he's in. But what a heck of a fatal 4-way match between the 4 of these guys for the IC title. Absolutely amazing. The Miz slid his way into pinning Antonio Cesaro in the end to retain his title. But what a heck of a match it was between the 4 of them. And here we go. The countdown's getting low. At number 5, we got Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn at Battleground. Now, this match, there's not much I can say about it. It speaks for itself. Absolutely incredible match. And this was a much needed victory by Sami Zayn. You're talking about someone who hadn't had a single pay-per-view win this year. And he really needed this win to end the long-term feud and rivalry between him and Kevin Owens. And what a great way to do it, by defeating his former best friend at Battleground. I was very, very happy for Sami Zayn because, I mean, Kevin Owens did not need this win. He had already beaten Sami Zayn. Actually, the pay-per-view. Oh, I'm sorry. The match I just said was not at Payback. It was at Extreme Rules. He beat Sami Zayn at Payback and at Extreme, which led to the Fatal 4-Way match to take place at Extreme Rules. I apologize for that, guys. I know you probably thought I was crazy because I said Payback, but it was actually at Extreme Rules that Fatal 4-Way match happened. But I was just going so fast I wasn't thinking about it. But yes, he had already beaten him at Payback. So I mean, would have been completely pointless to have him beat him again at Battleground. So this was a much well-deserved victory that Sami Zayn needed in order to move on, in order to move to bigger and better things, beating Kevin Owens at Battleground. And we're also talking about the pay-per-view that took place right after the draft. So this was just a great way for them to end this feud, even though they both were on Raw. And I thought that, I kind of thought it was a little bit dumb to keep them both in the same roster. They've moved on, and now we got Sami Zayn dealing with Braun Strowman right now as Kevin Owens is the Universal Champion. But what a heck of a match between the two, and I mean, couldn't have said it better. I mean, the fact that he put his leg on the rope when Kevin Owens hit him with the pop-up powerbomb, and the fact that it took 2 paleo kicks to actually beat Kevin Owens. It was a really, really great match. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Number 4, and I know that this match gets a lot of hype. And I know this match is overrated, but it was a pretty good match. Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura at NXT Dallas, Texas. This was the night right before WrestleMania 32, and it would mark the debut of Shinsuke Nakamura after coming from New Japan Pro Wrestling and signing with the WWE. And this would mark the final time that Sami Zayn would wrestle in NXT before permanently staying on the main roster, as he had previously already came to the main roster as early as last year against John Cena in an open challenge match for the United States Championship. He got injured and made his return at the Royal Rumble this year, So this would mark the final time that Sami Zayn would wrestle NXT before actually staying on the main roster. And what a heck of a match this was. Shinsuke Nakamura versus Sami Zayn. Like I said, I know this match is overly over-talked about. I know that this match you probably have seen on everybody's list, but I mean, it was a great, great match, and the crowd just told the story. Absolutely amazing match. The crowd was into it. I was into it, just looking at how amazing that this match was. Sami Zayn gave it his all, but in the end, the debuting at the time, Shinsuke Nakamura would defeat him and would win the match. And what a match it was between the two guys. I got to give them both credit in this match, especially Sami Zayn for ending his time at NXT like that. An absolutely incredible match that Sami Zayn put against Shinsuke Nakamura. I mean, it was just great. And it was a great debut by Shinsuke Nakamura as well. What a great match the two put on. And what a great way to get the crowd going right before WrestleMania on that Saturday night. Absolutely amazing. At number 3, we have Samoa Joe versus Finn Balor at NXT TakeOver The End. This was a steel cage match. And at the time, Samoa Joe was the NXT champion. He had recently beaten Finn Balor for the title, and he was facing him in a rematch to reclaim his title, Finn Balor. But Samoa Joe was just too much for Finn Balor to handle. And what an incredible match this was. I don't think any list I've seen this year, any list I've seen this this month have put this match on the list. I think this match is a little bit underrated, if you ask me, because this was one incredible match by both Samoa Joe and Finn Balor. What a match this was that they put on. Finn Balor went against Samoa Joe in the steel cage, and Samoa Joe would retain his NXT championship. What a match this was at NXT The End, NXT TakeOver The End. It's crazy because, like I said, I don't think many people have even considered this as a match of year material, but me, I really like this match. This was a great match. Samoa Joe has just really stepped up ever since he's arrived at WWE. I mean, he was already a big star in TNA. We all know how successful Samoa Joe was in TNA, but the fact that he not only won the NXT championship once, but twice when he shockingly beat Shinsuke Nakamura, shockingly, on the very next time that they would face each other after NXT TakeOver in Brooklyn, when he had beat Finn Balor in this steel cage match and retained his first NXT championship. It was just amazing because a lot of people, they had been asking superstars who they thought was going to win that match, and, you know, they just couldn't decide. It was absolutely amazing. But yeah, Samoa Joe ups Finn Balor yet again. He had already beaten him before, but to retain his title, he beat him in a steel cage match. NXT TakeOver this year. I definitely think this was match of year material. At number 3, I just said number 3. At number 2, Dean Ambrose. Excuse me, I got this written on paper. Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns at Battleground for the World's Heavyweight Championship. Now, this may have not been what we all thought and expected for it to be. This may have not been one of the best triple threats that everyone dreamed of. This had been something that had been talked about for ever since the Shield had really split up, of seeing all three of them face each other. And at the time, Dean Ambrose was defending his brand, and Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns were defending the Raw brand. So of course, they wanted the title to come to Raw, but Dean Ambrose managed to beat both of his former Shield members and bring the title home to SmackDown Live. What a match this was. Wasn't one of the best matches, but it still was great. And I think one of the best parts of it is the fact that Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins actually teamed up to put Roman Reigns to the table. If anything, I would have thought they would have teamed up Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns to put Seth Rollins to the table, but Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose teamed up to put Roman Reigns through a table. And one of the most shocking parts of this match was the simple fact that after Roman Reigns hit Seth Rollins with the spear, Dean Ambrose catches Roman Reigns with a dirty deeds, and I think that was a great way to end the match. It was an incredible match between the three. It wasn't as great as everyone thought it would be, but I mean, hey, it's only for so much you can do. I still thought that this was match of year material. You know, this was a really good match on the show. Dean Ambrose retains his WWE World Heavyweight Championship and brings home the title to SmackDown Live. And it's unfortunate he did, because if it had been on Raw, then what championship would have really came to SmackDown? I mean, a Universal title. I mean, just look at what's been going on with that. And number 1 is actually a tiebreaker. God. Number 1 is a tiebreaker between two matches. AJ Styles versus John Cena. That match speaks for itself. You know, definitely match of year material. If they did have the Slammy Awards, I think this probably would have won the match of the year. Amazing by AJ Styles. Amazing by John Cena. And the most shocking part was not only the fact that AJ Styles beat John Cena, but the fact that he beat him clean, other than when he had beaten him at Money in the Bank and there was interference from Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. What a match between these two. Absolutely amazing. John Cena, mid-air AA. AJ Styles kicks out, hit him with another star crash. He had kicked out previously earlier in the finisher. Hits him with a phenomenal forearm because he thinks he's going to kick out again. Pins him 1, 2, 3. Incredible match between the two. I honestly think that you can't take nothing away from John Cena, but this was a really big way for them to step up AJ Styles right here in this match. What's even more shocking is that now it's been over 5 years since John Cena has even won a SummerSlam, which is why I thought he was going to win it, but he didn't. That was shocking. And the other number one, like I said, as the year went on, there's some matches that had to catch up with this. Survival Series, Team Raw versus Team SmackDown. I got to give credit to this match too. There was so much stuff in this match. I mean, it was just absolutely insane. From the time that Shane McMahon put Braun Strowman through a table, to the time Shane McMahon got speared midair and both him and Roman Reigns were banged up, to the time that the Shield had a short reunion, putting AJ Styles through a table because Dean Ambrose had been eliminated previously early in the match by Braun Strowman, so he got retaliation on AJ Styles, causing them to put him through a table. From the time that Randy Orton RKO'd Seth Rollins from midair. I mean, this match just had it all. And SmackDown, I think this was the best way for them to have them win, by having the Wyatts be the last guys, by having Bray Wyatt pin Roman Reigns at the end of the match, because, I mean, like I said, this is incredible. SmackDown Live ones up Raw, and they well deserved it. I mean, it couldn't have gone any other way. Even the time that Chris Jericho got himself eliminated with RKO because he was worried about his list. I mean, this match just had some of everything. This was an incredible match. That's why I said number one is honestly a tiebreaker between those two, because both of those matches were incredible. Team SmackDown versus Team Raw was great. John Cena versus AJ Styles was great, but I definitely got to give it to Team SmackDown versus Team Raw as well. If AJ Styles and John Cena didn't win Match of the Year this year, I think Team Raw versus Team SmackDown will win Match of the Year. I mean, it could go either way. It could honestly go either way. Incredible match. Incredible. So, that's my list. And without further ado now, I'm going to start very quickly with my honorable mentions, which are matches that had the potential of being Match of the Year, but they just didn't. So let's get with the honorable mentions real quick. These are my honorable mentions, which these are matches that had the potential of being a Match of the Year candidate, but the ending just killed it. And I'm going to go pretty quick with this because, I mean, my video itself is pretty long, and I know my audience retention doesn't even go this long. Most of my videos, but first, we got Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship on the July 18th episode of Raw. This was the night right before the draft. Really, really great match between the two. Each and every time Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose face each other, they have really good chemistry. So, of course, this match was going to be good. But the only thing that killed it was the ending, because there was a double pin, which Seth Rollins tried to run out and act like he had won the title, but due to a draw, Dean Ambrose retained the championship, the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. I would have loved to have just seen him just pin Seth Rollins and retain, rather than it being a double draw with them pinning each other. But the thing that killed this match was the fact that Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins pinned each other at the same time. I didn't really like that. And that's one of the reasons why this is a part of honorable mentions. Because if it had not been for that, this match alone was a pretty incredible match. And what blew me was that the very next night on SmackDown Live, Dean Ambrose would beat Seth Rollins by pin. But that should have happened on Raw, but they waited to do it on SmackDown Live during the draft. Next up, you got AJ Styles versus Dean Ambrose at TLC for the WWE Championship. Another really, really amazing match. But the reason why this is a part of honorable mentions is because James Ellsworth got involved. I mean, did you really need James Ellsworth to be the reason why Dean Ambrose lost the title? You couldn't just have AJ Styles beat Dean Ambrose clean. You needed James Ellsworth to get involved and push him through the table, push him through the ladder so he can fall to a table. I mean, that was just unnecessary. The match itself was absolutely phenomenal. It was an amazing match between the two, AJ Styles and Dean Ambrose, but the ending it just killed it. The fact that James Ellsworth got involved and the crowd did cheer because they all wanted Dean Ambrose to lose. I mean, Dean Ambrose got like mixed crowds, and one, he got some people that support him, he got some people that are against him. So people cheered, but it's just the fact that, I mean, did you really need James Ellsworth to get involved? The match itself was already was a really great match. It was already match of your material, but the ending just killed it. Next up, Kevin Owens versus Big Cass versus Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns for the Universal title. Another match that was an amazing match, elimination match. Another match that was an amazing match. But the ending killed it. And why? Because Triple H got involved, pedigree Roman Reigns, caused Seth Rollins to pin Roman Reigns, caused Roman Reigns a match, then caused Seth Rollins a match, which shocked a lot of people because we didn't expect Triple H to turn on Seth Rollins. We knew that eventually he would turn on Seth Rollins, but we didn't expect it to happen when the Universal Championship was on the line. And he sided with Kevin Owens. And to this day, that is one of the most shocking moments in WWE history of 2016. Besides, I mean, the Goldberg factor. But, if this match had actually gone well, if someone actually went clean, I would have definitely said this was a match of your candidate. But this is an honorable mention because the ending just killed it. Triple H had to get himself involved, and it just ended the momentum of this match having any source of being a match of your candidate. It had already been a pretty well equal match between everybody in it. Even Big Cass lasted a long time before Kevin Owens hit him with the frog splash to get him eliminated. But it was a really good match up until that point. This is why that is an honorable mention. Next up on this list, Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins at Hell in a Cell for the Universal Championship. Another match that was an incredible match between the two. This was a heck of a match between Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins. But the reason why it's not match of your material is because Chris Jericho got involved. I mean, I love Chris Jericho and all. Like I said, that's one of the main reasons I watch Monday Night Raw, because of Chris Jericho. But I mean, him getting involved in this match killed this match from really having any momentum of matching your material, because you had to have the best friend get involved, and you had to have the best friend help Kevin Owens beat Seth Rollins, and he couldn't beat him clean. So that's what killed this match, because Seth Rollins, lost to Kevin Owens, but he didn't lose to him clean. And I mean, it was a really great match. He had already power bombed Kevin Owens through a table. He had already, it had been a really great match between the two. But then Chris Jericho got involved, had to help his best friend out. And then, of course, as always, the story remains the same. Kevin Owens retains the Universal title. Of course, in August, he was winning it for the first time because they were having that match because Finn Balor had to surrender his title because he had been injured. So he had to give it up, which is why that match even came about. But, by Hell in a Cell, Kevin Owens had already been Universal Champion. He had already beaten Seth Rollins before in the previous pay-per-view Clash of Champions, and he won the same way that time. Chris Jericho got involved. But what killed this match was just simply the fact that Chris Jericho got involved. If that hadn't been the case, I would have definitely put this as one of the top 15 match of your candidate. Next match in this list, honorable mention, AJ Styles versus John Cena versus Dean Ambrose for the WWE Championship at No Mercy. Reason why this is on this list is very simple. I mean, okay, I understand this was a triple threat match, but AJ Styles could have won a better way than he actually did. I mean, you had John Cena hit Dean Ambrose with a midair AA, and then AJ Styles just grabs a steel chair and beats John Cena that way. And I didn't really like the fact that they restarted the match anyway, because the match itself was a really great opener to the show. But the fact that they both put him in a submission hold, He had him in the STF. Dean Ambrose had him in his own finisher, and they both made him tap out, and they had to restart the match. I didn't like that. They could have easily just have gone and had the match going regularly than restarting it. But that was already the first problem I had. And the second problem I had was how AJ Styles won. Now, I know, like I said, it was triple threat and it was no disqualification, but they could have had AJ Styles just simply win by hitting him with the phenomenal forearm from midair, or, you know, the Styles crash or something like that, just out of nowhere, pinning John Cena like that, then using a steel chair to do it. But another match right there that, like I said, would have been a match of your candidate, but the ending killed it. I mean, like I said, this is just my opinion. It was an incredible opener, but just the ending. And lastly on here, lastly on here, we have Samoa Joe versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the NXT Championship, NXT TakeOver in Toronto. I was saying earlier how how Samoa Joe had beaten Shinsuke Nakamura, how shocking it was when he won his second NXT championship. Well, this was the match. And the only reason why I put this a part of honorable mentions is simply because of the ending, because of how he won, because of the fact that he did a low blow and the ref was knocked out and didn't even see it. And that's actually how he beat Shinsuke Nakamura. He didn't just beat him clean. He actually did a low blow out of nowhere and won the match that way. And I didn't really like the fact that they did that just for him to win his second NXT championship. But that's what happened. So those are my honorable mentions. And that's it. I mean, I know you guys probably won't watch the little video, but that's it. This is it for the year of 2016. I'm already stuck on 2017 for Raymaster Flex. Next year, I plan on having my channel bigger, badder, and better. You can expect more wrestling videos, but you can also expect other videos. Remember to expect the unexpected with this channel. That wraps it up. This is my final video of 2016. Signing off, Raymaster Flex. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, at least for the much that you actually watched this video. If you do watch this whole video, I really would appreciate it. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please subscribe. And that's it, guys. Peace. And early Happy New Year's. And happy holidays. Peace.